Keep your UK rental property investments thriving. My simple 5+ step maintenance and repair guide. Hey there, landlords, property investors, and fellow property managers. Let's dive into the world of property maintenance and repairs. You're going to want to watch till the end because I'm going to show you some tips and tricks that I've been using to help maintain my properties for the long run. And these tips will literally help you keep your properties thriving throughout this year. And guys, I really want to just change the narrative of landlords in the UK, because the way that landlords are portrayed in the UK, everybody thinks they're slumlord landlords and they're just cramming as many people in as much possible and they're not doing any work to repair their properties, when in reality that is probably like a minute. All landlords want is they just want to make sure that they look after their anything like myself, because a happy tenant will actually look after your property and keep it nice and keep it clean and have that pride within themselves and within the property. It is not within a landlord's best interest to just neglect a property and leave tenants in these slummy conditions. It literally isn't. It's so counterproductive. In reality, your properties are assets, so you're going to want to keep those and keep them nice. And my vision and my mission with my business is that I want to provide quality housing for those who need it, and quality affordable housing as well at that. And that's why I've gone into the direction that I have gone into by investing in these flats, because it's quite affordable for the tenant. So what I'm trying to say is that maintenance and repairs are essential to upkeep and make sure that their properties are in tip-top condition. They're actually lasting the test of time and they're actually looking after the tenants that are in there, because once you get a really good tenant, you don't want to let them go. So here are some tips and things that I've put in place so that I can make sure that I keep one step ahead of having to do any maintenance and repair works to the properties. So obviously, owning a rental property, it can be rewarding itself. It can be a really fulfilling venture that you go on. So that then does come with certain responsibilities, which is, i.e., making sure that you are maintaining these properties long term for maintenance moving forwards, and also a plan in place for repairs. So hopefully these simple tips will help you to empower you to be more proactive and also forward thinking with your maintenance when it comes to your own properties. So guys, we've basically got to maintain and repair anything that crops up into the property, but whilst also maintaining and respecting your tenant's privacy. So there's a bit of a balance there. So this leads me on to my first point, and that is just having some sort of maintenance schedule within your tenant pack, which we spoke about in previous videos. I have a tenant's welcome pack that I hand out to all my tenants when they are starting out on their journey, and it kind of just almost bridges the gap and sort of backs up the tenancy agreement and the home user and the how to rent guide that the government sort of says is that you have to give to a tenant when they are starting out a tenancy with you. So it almost sort of like it meshes the two together. Within there, I have almost like a traffic light system and a maintenance system for tenants to also report maintenance issues, and it also has a maintenance schedule in there. So it will say you moved in on X day in 6 months time, which is this date. I would want to come around and do sort of the maintenance check and the maintenance schedule. So that is listed out from the get-go, so that then the tenants are aware, they know that that's coming. So then it helps back up their privacy, because as you know, when you are renting out a property, your tenants do have the private enjoyment of the whole tenancy that tenancy covers. And having that as part of your maintenance schedule, it just means that you can go into the property and you can inspect, and you can also try to stay one step ahead of anything that could progress and make that could be something a lot worse if it was left undealt with later on down the line. So you can go in and you can inspect and you can see any areas that may cause issues that might sort of snowball into something else had you not have done that maintenance check. So for example, you might see on this maintenance check some issues that might develop into damp and moisture and excessive moisture building up in the property. But if you're doing that maintenance check, you would have seen that maybe there might be something there where maybe the tenant is not opening the windows often enough. So you might see that issue and you might be able to deal with that and speak to them about it. Or you might be able to see that there's an issue there and they might need a stronger, extract fan coming from the bathroom, for example. Or you might need to put a PIV vent in, so that combats any issues regarding to damp and moisture. That's going to solve those issues for you. So that is an example. So you would have picked that up because you've been doing your regular maintenance checks. If you hadn't that might have led to something else. It might have led to excessive moisture build-up, condensation, and then that just goes into black mold and all stuff like that, which isn't good for anybody. It's not great with your tenants. So it just shows that you are taking your duty of care to your tenants seriously, and you're actually proactively going out there and see. It's not a gotcha moment. It's not, oh, you're catching a tenant out or you're telling the team that you are telling the tenant how to live. It's just you are spotting any issues that might arise that might affect their environment and how they're living in the property long term. And you may see other issues, like you might see a leaky gutter, things like that, which again could build up to a more serious problem later down the line. And by having that maintenance check already there and pointing that out to them, that it's already there in their, in their tenant welcome pack, you're already communicating ahead of time that you need to go there. So it's ahead of 24 hours notice that you're giving to your tenants, so that they can fit in a time that's convenient for them, around work, around your work and things like that, that's just convenient for you to go around and have a look. And again, if you're interested in any of these sort of maintenance packs or templates and things that I do have, you can just pop schedule in the comments below, and then maybe I can sort out providing a downloadable link to these as well. By the way, my name's Sabrina, and I am literally documenting my whole property investment journey here on YouTube. So there are more videos to come like this. So if you are liking the content, maybe think about subscribing, give us a like and comment below. And that like will just help the video get out to more people, so that I can share more of my tips and tricks that I've picked up from my experience of starting on this property journey. So what happens if you do spot something that needs a bit of maintenance or repairs, or your tenant actually has something, comes to you with a repair or a maintenance issue? So when it comes to repairs, it's essential that you have a plan in place for swift action. And as I've said, if it's something that's not cropped up or you've not seen it and it's in between your maintenance checks, then you are solely relying on the tenant. So therefore you need to make sure that the tenant knows and almost has an awareness of their roles and responsibilities and how they report different issues that may crop up in between these maintenance checks. So what I've actually done is, again, I'm going to go back to these tenants welcome packs. Within there, I've got a reporting process that the tenant can use so that they can report maintenance issues and repairs. So it's almost like a red, a green system, so like a traffic light system, and it lists an example of each and every scenario. A scenario for red, which obviously is going to be the most important, which is emergency. So smelling things, something like gas is an emergency, I would class that as, and then therefore they've got an emergency number they can call, and they've also got my number, and I'm acting as a property manager to call as well. So that could be any time of the day. They could ring me for that, or they could, and obviously I provide them with a number which is Cadent Gas that they could ring at any time, and there's a process there if it's a red, an example of a red issue. And then if it's an amber issue, which again is sort of like a medium size, important enough for that it needs to be dealt with there and then, but it might not be important enough for them to sort of call me straight away. So for example, if there's a water leak, there's a process for reporting that. So if there is a water leak, within the tenant welcome pack, they know where the start valve is for the water. So in there, it tells them to use that, switch the water off. And obviously then when it's within allotted hours for their property maintenance officer, which is myself, they can ring me and report it that way. They've also been provided with the number for the relevant utility services as well. So Severn Trent Water, for example. And then like a green issue, for example, if there's an issue with, maybe there's an issue with the gate that means that their security is compromised. Again, my number's provided as a property maintenance manager, and then there's set hours for them to call me if it's a green issue, for example, between 9 and 5, and they can report it through that way. I can also back that up by emailing me with, there's a maintenance form that they can fill in and send that through to me. So that's something that can obviously wait till the next day to be sorted out, but it's not pressing enough for the tenant to have to contact me straight away there that evening. So this does quite a few things. This will help if you have this process set out and it's all there within the tenant welcome pack. That means that you're not getting phone calls in the middle of the night over issues that could be dealt with in the morning, and it works vice versa as well. It just shows that you're care. It shows that you're being clear and concise with each of the maintenance issues that's happened, and you're taking their safety seriously and the duty of care that you have toward your tenant seriously. Remember, you need to be proactive with any repairs that need to be done, because if there are red item issues that could cause a lot of damage, then you need to get in there promptly, swiftly, and you need to know exactly what's happened and when it happened. Otherwise, it's going to cost you a lot of money, which is going to affect your finances dramatically. And talking of finances, if you are wanting to get into property, or even if you want to just look at sorting out your finances, you can try Unbiased, and they are literally like almost like a dating website for your finances. They will literally match you up with with a financial advisor or a mortgage broker or somebody that suits you, whatever, based on your needs. And their link is in the description box below. Obviously, if you do use that link, it is an affiliate link, so I do make a little bit of commission for everyone that signs up, and you'll get your first consultation free of charge. And also, if you do need any help with your finances in regards to mortgage brokers, my mortgage broker that I use, I've linked her details in the description box below as well. So you might be thinking now, well, Sabrina, how am I actually going to fund any repairs? Right, that is my next tip as well. So when you're actually collecting your rent, by the way, this is all for in case you don't use an estate agent or a property management company and you're actually managing it yourself. What I would do when you're getting in the rent every month, I would hold back a certain percentage and just have that so that that's there until you build up like a pot of money. So for example, for myself, I like to have £3,000 for each property just there, just in case there's any maintenance issues, and I factor that into when I'm actually looking at a deal as well and I'm wanting to pull the money back out. Again, see other videos. Yeah, so when I'm actually financing and just looking at purchasing a property and adding value and then refinancing to get my money back and things like that, when I'm looking at a property deal, I'll factor that into it as well, so that I at least have £1,000 or so that I can build on, so that I've got that pot of money there from the get-go as a maintenance budget. And then, as I said, once it's been rented out, I'll keep a small portion of that rent until it builds up to like a £3,000, for example, in the bank, so that I've got that there, and that covers any maintenance issues that I may have for each property that I do have. And obviously there's other factors involved that you might want to base your maintenance budget on. Maybe obviously the refurb that you've done in the first place, the age and condition of the property, all things like that, so that you know, right, well, this might go wrong in the future, so therefore I've got a portion of money aside for that, just in case that happens. It's almost like you're writing a risk register of items that might happen and might go wrong, like what we've done and what we've spoke about in our previous videos, in, for example, when we're actually costing out and we're providing a scope of works originally. They see other videos for that. So for example, when we're initially looking at a property to purchase and we're looking at to add value, and we're maybe going to be doing works to that, building works, whether we're going to do an extension or any other way we're looking at to add value, and creating another bedroom somewhere, for example, we'd have a scope of building works that we're going to do for that. And as part of that, I always say to have a risk register of items that we initially see that might need fixing. So it's almost like having a risk register in that sense for your maintenance purposes. So you're guesstimating about anything that might go wrong in the future, and you're putting a set of money aside for that, just in case that happens, so that if it does happen, you've already thought about it. It's just thinking ahead, forward thinking and forward maintenance. And then this kind of leads me back onto the issue of just early detection. So having open communication with your tenants and just making sure that you are regularly inspecting your properties. You can see any issues that may arise before they do happen. Early detection is key. And that way you're seeing any maintenance issues that may escalate into more costly repairs later on down the line. You're detecting those before they escalate into something a lot worse down the line. Because left unchecked, they could turn into real serious safety hazards for your tenant, and that's not what we want at all. And when we're doing these inspections, we need to have a list of things we're actually looking at, so that we're focused and we've actually got an audit trail as well, should we be asked later on down the line. So when we're doing this, we're paying close attention to wear and tear, we're paying close attention to plumbing fittings, to electrical outlets, structural issues, if there's anything to do with that, any signs of water ingress, water damage, mold build-up, just stuff like that, pest infections, any other issues that might compromise the safety or the quality of life for your tenants that are living in your properties, basically. And also engage with your tenants, speak to them, they're your customers, so get that valued feedback from them if you can, and just develop that open-ended relationship with them, so that again, they're on your side, and if there's any issues that are cropping up, they're going to be proactively telling you about them before they happen. And it's not just willy-nilly, like just things that are just cropping up all the time. They are actually telling you with intent, like they're going to have your best interests at heart as well, because at the end of the day, it's their home. And as I've said, I normally take photos of any specialist fittings that are in there as well every 6 months, just so that I can make sure that they are still in working order. And also for yourself, if should you need it, it's a backup for you. It's an audit trail, so we make sure the photos that you're taking are dated, so it's a proper inventory report when you're doing these every 6 months. If you can get a tenant's signature as well, just so that if you do need that to fall back on, you do have that audit trail and you've got that to present and say, well, no, this has happened because I've done a regular maintenance check every 6 months. You know, I've got this in place for reporting maintenance and repairs. So it just helps back you up as well as a landlord, and it just makes sure that you're providing quality product, which is the property, to your tenant. You're providing them with a lovely quality place to live. That's the main crux of it, guys. That's what we want to do in the future. We want to sort of change that narrative of the slum landlord, and we just want to make sure that it's known that landlords aren't here to just ignore tenants. We're here to look after the tenants that are in the properties because we have a duty of care to them. And guys, if you are wondering how I do conduct a project in the first place, watch this playlist next and I'll show you all the details. Thanks. Bye.